morning, everyone, and welcome once again to our weekly Sunrise Project call, where we always are so grateful to be in this safe space of community with one another, where we are working to heal our relationships and working to create space, new space with ourselves and with our families. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I am so thrilled this morning to have our special guest back with us today. She was here with us back in early June, and she has graciously agreed to come back today to share. And I'm excited to have her. Her name is Jesaira Glover Doolin, and she is a dynamic force at the intersection of mental health, spirituality, and transformative leadership. As a licensed holistic therapist, certified executive and life coach, Reiki master, ordained minister, and shamanic practitioner in training, Jesaira integrates sacred wisdom with psychological expertise to guide individuals and communities through deep healing and personal evolution. That just feels so good. Just feels so good. Just reading that paragraph. Um, she is the visionary founder of the Oasis Sanctuary, a therapeutic and spiritual refuge, and the Legacy Leadership Group, a global leadership development firm. Jaceira's work is grounded in a trauma informed, culturally attuned approach that weaves together modalities such as CBT, ACT, DBT, mindfulness, somatic therapy, ancestral healing, and African spiritual traditions. With over 20 years of experience, she specializes in creating and cultivating safe spaces that honor identity, foster emotional restoration, and support holistic well being. Currently completing her PhD in business psychology, Jesaira is passionate about dismantling racialized workplace trauma, reshaping organizational culture, and empowering purpose driven leaders. Jesaira resides just outside of Atlanta, where she lives with her husband, Robert. And I will share in our chat and also a little bit later her website and information because she is licensed to provide therapy in Georgia, Florida, and Maryland. And we are so delighted to have you back, Jaceira. Thank you for being here
Thank
this
you.
morning.
Here. So happy to be here. Hello, everyone. Peaceful rising.
Peaceful rising. Can we stop there? When we got on the call earlier this morning, I said, "Good morning. It's good to see you." And you said peaceful rising.
Mhm.
I took a deep breath because it felt so good to hear those words, peaceful rising. Where did that come? Before we get into our topic, which is all about authenticity today and unwrapping the gift of you for you, can
Mhm.
you share where did you or when did you start using that term and what does it mean for you?
Sure. I started using it the first part of this year, and I have been working intentionally on mapping out and creating my day and not waiting for anybody to do that for me on my behalf. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I would hear people say grand rising, and grand
Mm-hmm.
rising never resonated with me. And
Mm-hmm.
so one day I said, no, I want peace, and I want peace every day of my life. So it became people
Mm-hmm.
rising. And so what I noticed is when I say it, it's just like what you did. People stop in their tracks, and it's almost like taking a breath because it's like, okay, I'm going to be intentional about peace. And peace is not, absent of things going on externally around us, right? But it's really setting a tone to kind of inwardly, no matter what, to ground ourselves in peace. So that's where it came
Yes, I love it. It's grounding ourselves in peace. It's taking a
from.
breath. It's
Yeah.
taking a pause. And it's being intentional about how we move through our day. And
Yeah.
that's what you did for me in that second. It's
I,
like, I literally, it made me pause and it
yeah.
made me smile.
Good.
And
I
I
love
thought, this is beautiful. So thank you for that.
it.
So I want to talk about our topics. Our
Sure.
topic today is authenticity.
Mhm.
And I want to start by just talking about that because when we talk about authenticity, especially in our community where most of us are working with our parent adult child relationships, many of us have adult children, some have teens,
Mhm.
some have godchildren. It doesn't matter. Some are here because they're dealing with, another loved one, may not be a child, but whatever reason, it doesn't matter. But as we talk about authenticity, especially during the holidays, what
Mhm.
does it really mean to show up as our true selves without trying to control outcomes or control what's happening, with other people? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so let's jump right on in. I think authenticity begins with first awareness. I'm certain that it begins with awareness, right? And as we become aware of how we are responding, as we become aware of what we are feeling, even as we become
Hmm.
aware of some things that we've been conditioned to do and believe,
Hmm.
as we become aware of those things, then moving into giving ourselves permission to show up in alignment and in
Hmm.
congruence. Because as you become aware, then you can begin to notice the things that may not align with you, right? The things that may not really truly sit with you. And as you do that, you become very intentional about congruence. It's honesty without overbearing, right? Is
Hmm.
standing boundaries as more than just protection, but invitations for clarity. Um,
Hmm.
so, yeah, that's kind of where authenticity kind of begins in my mind.
Interesting. In inviting authenticity and conversations, and I
Hmm.
want to talk about this control piece, because
Yeah.
so many times we talked about this last week with Dr. Linda. So many times we're trying to control what's happening, or we have certain traditions
Hmm.
for the holidays that we want to try to continue, and our adult children may not, care about those traditions or want to maybe create their own new ones. How do we work past those things and just say, I'm gonna let them be? How do we get there?
Well, first we have to acknowledge that as children become adults, that as parents, the role evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So the needs that they had, when they were younger are not the same. And I think when parents begin to see their adult children as people
Mm-hmm.
like them, right? Then they can embrace the fact that their adult child has a choice, first and foremost, and that
Mm-hmm.
they can choose to celebrate differently. They can choose to be with their friends instead of with family, first and
Mm-hmm.
foremost. And then I think want to tie back to when I said about awareness with parents,
Mm-hmm.
authenticity, we really have to question why we do what we do as parents because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're more performative, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are present. And so, we want them to be present for be there for the holidays, but really what is that about? Is it because we ritualistically do it? Or is it because we are seeking to build connection? Because if connection is the center of it all, it really doesn't matter if they spend the holiday with us because we detach from that expectation and we begin to embrace something else. So really moving from, yeah, you look like you're
Mm-hmm.
going to ask a question.
Well, right. So what I hear, I was about to ask about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
detaching language that you're
yeah,
using,
yeah,
because if it's about connection and we're working on connection all the time
yeah,
or in other spaces and it's not attached to a specific day. Is that
correct.
what you're saying?
That's
Okay.
exactly what I'm saying. And I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
the healthy detachment doesn't look like, oh, we have to, it's not ritualistic. It's not
Mm-hmm.
um, making and overbearing, asserting what you would like for your children to do. It's accepting, right? So, really healthy detachment,
Yeah.
radical acceptance. It's about acknowledging, it's like the
Yeah.
serenity prayer, what you prayed.
Yes.
Yeah,
Accepting.
it's the acceptance, right? It's detaching, but knowing that when you're detaching, you're not letting your child go. once again, you're positioning yourself for connection.
Right. But how do you interrupt the patterns? Because we have these patterns. Like I'm thinking about, you know, my birthday's coming up. I want to go to do what I do in the morning, my certain breakfast place, and I want my kids to come with me,
Hmm.
And yet if they don't, it's okay. Although I might be disappointed. So how do we disrupt, and change the expectations when we do have these rituals or we do have these things that we've always done that we want our kids to show up for, even when they're grown?
Ooh, this,
Dr. Vicky just put a note in the chat. She says detachment is not letting go, it's positioning for acceptance.
it's positioning for acceptance and it's positioning for clarity, right? It's conditioning
Mm,
for connection. So when you ask how do you disrupt by questioning why it is that you are insisting that X, Y, and Z, that my child does this. Is this coming from me or is this coming from what I've been taught to believe? And have I challenged that? Um, have I assigned my identity as a parent to whether or not they are with me during the holidays? For instance, if they're not with
mhm,
me, because hosting and all of the things, and if I'm not a good host, does that mean I'm not a good mom, a good mama or a good father?
mhm,
No, so we are, really, really looking at why we do what we do. That's how we disrupt.
mhm,
Why we do what we do and being okay
mhm.
with the discomfort when we uncover what really might be behind that. Because a lot of times
Yes.
behind that is not our own thoughts and being. I was thinking about, now this might be a little off topic, but I just for the sake of kind of making my point, I was thinking
Mhm,
about how we are conditioned to believe that when we are dating, that the next step is marriage.
mhm,
Now,
mhm,
when you are moving into authenticity and when you're moving into this place of true alignment, you
mhm.
allow yourself space to question if that's really what you want. Even when
Right,
you feel the inkling of that, right? Because some of us,
right.
it's like, no, I can't, I have to get married. And it's like, no, do I really have to?
Yeah, no.
I don't want to, and
Mhm.
this marriage anyway, right? We start having
Yeah.
those questions. So disruption begins with inquiry. It begins with the curiosity.
Yes.
It begins with the question. It begins with the
Yes.
looking in and asking, what is this about? Is this the identity that I am aligning with because I was told? What?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where that disruption begins.
I love that. I love that. And it's making me rethink my plans for next week and also making me feel comfortable. But you know what? When I ask myself those questions, I think part of it is because without saying anything from a guilt perspective,
Mhm.
I realize, and it's an honest and truthful comment. I don't know that I've built traditions over the years, you know what I mean, with my children. So we don't
Mhm.
necessarily have
Yes, yeah. No.
traditions. And so when I think about, okay, one thing we do, because
Uh-huh.
we never sat down to eat dinner, we never, except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, those 2 days a year. So those 2 days a year, which are important because of the one time we actually sit down as a family versus grabbing a plate and going somewhere, So I think that's why. And so for me, rethinking those things and saying, okay, and being okay if it's just me. That's fine too.
I think that first of all, that's powerful what you said, but then you brought something up for me. My
Uh-huh.
mom is constantly like, we need to do something for Thanksgiving. We need to do something for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
We gotten married and having children doing our thing.
Yeah.
And I said to her one day, I said, Mom,
Mm-hmm.
connection isn't bound to just those holidays. We
That's
can
right.
create our own memories and own experiences on March the 31st if we wanted to, right?
That's
And
right.
so she kind of stopped.
That's right.
Right. And this was the first year that we went on a cruise together.
Wow.
So talk about creating
Totally
memories.
separate time, but it's
It
separate.
totally,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it was in August. Totally separate
Mm-hmm.
time. But that did something for her because I think the other piece is, it's a lot of pressure. There's pressure,
Mm-hmm.
in the Black family. A lot of times Thanksgiving has to be that
Mm-hmm.
dinner where we do it up. Christmas has to
Yeah.
be. And it's like, no, we can love on each other and connect throughout the year.
Right. Right.
That's intentional.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
intentional.
it's right. And I think that's an open opportunity, to make a different choice. Because you talked about choices earlier. And
Yeah,
I want to get back to something too. It's a lot of this is around, self-regulation. And you
yeah,
talk about that a lot in your work,
yeah,
self-regulation before communication.
yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
yeah.
share more about that? Because that I think is a challenge we all have, is that how do we self-regulate before we communicate? What does that mean, first of all? And then how can we do that effectively?
Yeah. So first, a lot of times when we're communicating from a survival kind of instinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where our nervous system is trained to either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Okay. So when
Mm-hmm.
things happen or when conversations bring
Mm-hmm.
about that internal disruption, our nervous system is automatically activated. And
Mm-hmm.
either it's not trained to be calm and to stop and to pause and to process, then it will
Mm-hmm.
respond out of these altered states. So
Yes.
first is very important that we pay attention to what's happening. This is very, 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 very practical.
Mm-hmm.
If we pay attention to what's happening in our bodies when we are encountering these moments with our children or with our loved ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we start talking, if we get tightness in our chest, if we are feeling tense
Mm.
in our shoulder, that
Yes.
we take a moment and pause and even breathe to regulate because authenticity is about self regulation. That happens
Mm-hmm.
internally first, right? It's never
Yes.
good to respond immediately. It's
Yes.
always good to take a beat, to take a pause, because our
Yes.
body tells us what our brain doesn't. We don't understand. Our
Mm.
body tells us what our brain doesn't. Our
Yes.
body, our whatever we're experiencing externally is traveling up that reticular activating system up the brain stem through our limbic
Mm-hmm.
system to get to the prefrontal cortex to make a decision. But what happens is we don't allow that process to ground us, put
Mm-hmm.
us in what is called a dorsal state, so that we're
Mm-hmm.
able to self regulate first before we respond. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where your deep breathing comes into play. If you don't meditate, you need to meditate. Where grounding is important, grounding is very important. Sound is important. Sound can regulate
Mm-hmm.
your nervous system, right? So all of those things, those practices, right, that can help us,
Mm-hmm.
that can support us when we're in the midst of those conversations.
I
Because
love that.
yeah, you never want to just react. You want to
Mm-hmm.
respond intelligently and from a honest place,
Mm-hmm.
but not from a reactive place. Yeah, I hope
Right.
I answered your question.
You did answer the question because it's about pausing, it's about taking a breath, it's about being honest.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, it's not about control. And it's really, especially with adult children, it's like asking them, you
yeah,
know, you know, what would you like? Here's what I would like to do. What do you think about that? How does that feel to you?
yeah. And let me say this because I didn't bring this into it when I was talking about awareness. It's
Mm-hmm.
important that we honor the grief and that we mourn the version of the relationship that was. Right?
Mm,
So, because
mm,
when they were younger, there was a level of dependency that they had that they no longer have. And
yes.
sometimes as parents, we can become very attached, addicted to
Mm-hmm.
that, to needing to be needed.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we've centered and built our lives around that identity and that identity alone. Then it is a shock to the nervous system. It's a shock to everything. So
Yes.
we have to stop and pause and honor the grief, the version of the relationship that was,
Yes.
and say, you know what? Yeah, I
Hmm.
miss that. And it's okay to say that to your child. I miss that.
Yeah.
And I recognize you're becoming someone else.
Yes. And the flip is actually interesting too, because I just watched a really great movie called Jay Kelly on
Uh-huh.
Netflix, and it's without giving it all away. It's basically about the choices that we make.
Hmm.
Um, and the choices we make as adults, and how we choose to live our lives, how we choose to show up for our children and our loved ones, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really deep, and I'm not going to give the ending away.
Okay.
But without saying much more about it, it made me pause and reflect because on the reverse, and as I was mentioning, I don't really have a bunch of traditions, and I'm looking forward to creating new memories and moments that
Uh-huh.
are not necessarily tied to, the holidays, specific days.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting because it's sort of the opposite. We did have some traditions, but not a lot, not major ones. Like when I see
Yeah.
other people, it's like, oh, we decorated the tree. No, I have a girlfriend that comes in and puts the tree up and decorates it. So there's no connection even around, the tree piece. Um, so I think for me, it's a reverse. Do you
Okay.
see that as well? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
trying to find ways to create moments and memories that
Yeah.
might be, as one man said a few weeks ago, these many molecule moments,
I like.
where he said many molecule moments, and over time they add up to these wonderful memories.
Yeah. And to your point, you made me, I wrote something down here because I think the other thing that shows up unconsciously in these moments is that
Hmm.
many of us are seeking to reconcile and resolve our parental relationships, our own
That's it.
relationships, right?
Yes.
Whatever was deficient, whatever memory may be assigned to the
Hmm.
holidays for us, right?
Yes.
A lot of times that unconsciously comes up, and that's the driver. That becomes a thing that causes us to really, push. Hey, I want to have a holiday. I want to do something different because sometimes we haven't completely acknowledged the pain and
Hmm.
healed whatever needs to be healed
Hmm.
with regards to
That's
our
right.
parental, right? Our parental relationships.
That part right there is massive
It's
because
huge.
it is huge
Huge.
because all of us have something
Correct.
that's unresolved.
Correct.
I
Correct.
really, and yeah, and all of us have that. So I it's just interesting with all the authenticity, all the honesty.
Yeah.
Sometimes that still has that overlay
Yes.
of
Yes.
this unresolved trauma.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's like
Hmm.
you said, it's layered, right? And so
Hmm.
part of authenticity is saying and acknowledging I am becoming. I am, but
Yes.
also I am becoming. It's both
Yes.
happening at the same time because in
Right.
relationships with our adult children, things begin to be uncovered. Things that we didn't know
That's right.
to be uncovered, right? I
That's
didn't
right.
know that still had this issue. Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. It's
Yeah.
funny, even small things I know, and my mom, is mortified when I use paper plates. But
Mhm.
I'm about peace and ease right now in my life. And so
Mhm.
paper plates was the big deal to me,
Yeah.
but it's about peace. And as you said, peaceful rising. I'm thinking about moving through this next couple of weeks. How do we maintain peace when there's 1,000 things on the to-do list and we have time for five of
Make
them?
yourself the number one priority. Make
Mm,
yourself the priority. You cannot give if you've not given to yourself first.
mhm, mhm,
And for
mhm,
me, I'll tell you now that y'all may not agree with this, but this has been my philosophy.
mhm.
I'm not even interested in giving people anything out of my cup because it belongs to me. I'm
Hey,
interested in giving
mm,
people overflow. So if I stay in
Yes.
a place where I'm filled, for me, I need me to be filled, and this is part of the authenticity. I need to embody authenticity. I need to embody presence, and I need to do that for me first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Give out of that place of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even believe anymore in letting that cup get halfway filled. It's like no, because for me it has built up moments of resentment. No,
Mm-hmm.
no. Keep your cup filled.
Mm-hmm.
Keep you first.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You got a husband, I know you got kids, I know you got job, but keep you first.
Mm.
Just like they tell
That's
us on
a
the airplane, right?
yeah,
Before you
yeah.
help somebody else, put your mask
Cover
on.
your mask, put your
Right.
mask on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easier said than done is the reality, right?
It is. It is. But
Mm-hmm.
it comes
Mm-hmm.
through
Mm-hmm.
practice and it comes through giving ourselves permission once again. Wait, the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I think. I don't know how many, it seems like it's a lot of women on the call, and I don't know if it's men on the call, but um,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times as women, we assign our value and our identity to what we do, the roles we,
That's right. That's right.
right? The strong black
That's
woman,
right.
the
Mm-hmm.
the great, leader, the strong wife, what,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we overly identify. And so that's why it becomes a challenge because what I'm saying is not to identify with the role. I'm
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that you go in and realize who you are and align with that. And the role
Mm-hmm.
is the extension of you,
That's
not
right.
you.
Right.
So that's why
Right.
it becomes difficult. There's that tension. Oh, if I put me first, then it means that I'm not a good mom. If I put me first,
Mm-hmm.
that means I'm a selfish wife. If I cut off
Mm-hmm.
my boundary at work, that means that I'm not a dedicated worker.
Mm-hmm. None of that's true.
None of that's true. We've bought into
Mm-hmm.
an illusion that is not true. We've been
That's
conditioned.
not true.
Not true.
That's right. That's right. So focusing on not performing, but living,
Yes.
living into who we are
Yes.
and who God has put us on the earth to be,
Yes.
and really stepping into that space. And as we, go over these next few weeks, finding those moments, that's why I'm still in love with the peaceful rising, finding those moments for ourselves to have peace and
Hmm.
to experience lightness and ease.
Hmm.
That is a tremendous thing to think about, and an opportunity to make a different choice this holiday. And some people are further along in that space than others. So I can speak from personal experience. So that's really cool. I love that. So I want to ask a question about, um, we talked a little bit about this around going back to how things may have been or how things were.
Hmm.
And how do we make sure we're reconciling not doing that, but living into a space that's honest and respectful and emotionally mature, between us as parents and our adult children. So, like, what does a conversation look like? I'm asking tactically, what does a conversation look like as we are, exploring how to create a different space, that versus what may have been true in the past?
Yeah. So first, I think it's important to acknowledge that the sacrifices that were made as a parent were centered
Hmm.
in love. And I think
Yes,
it's good to start off the conversation with the things that I did for you as you were growing up. It was out of a place of love. It's because I
yeah,
wanted to create something safe. And
yes,
as you have become an adult, that has become it's different for me. I'm learning
yes,
how to evolve now in a different place. And
hmm,
so I miss that part of our relationship. I miss
yes,
that. And
hmm,
it's okay to say, in my mind, you'll always be da 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 da.
right,
And as we move forward, help me to kind of engage with you in a way that's respectful of where you are, that
yes,
honors. that honors your evolving, and that creates space for us to have something new,
I love that.
right?
That's great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's
Because both
beautiful.
exist. Yeah. So you don't abandon what was. You can't,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
You
Right.
acknowledge it, right? You
In a
acknowledge,
new space.
yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
say, let's create something new. And it's a journey.
It's
Yeah, I love that. It's a journey. I want to make sure we open up the floor for people who may have a question. Oh, it looks like we do have a hand up. So whoever that is, please feel free. Nikki, good morning.
Oh, thank you for this. Good morning. Oh, wait, no. Great day. I usually say to people, great and grateful day when I'm
Oh,
texting them
I
because
love
I'm
that.
practicing so much this oxymoron around this good sadness. Because
Yeah.
I've
Mm-hmm.
learned in a lot of different spaces, how it's not congruent with who we say we want to be and what we want our days to look like, and just
That's
all
right.
these things. And so it's a lot of unlearning and unschooling inside of this great linguistic world that we live in. So I am thank you. Is it Jasira?
Yes, just Sarah.
Okay, Jasira.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelly, for having Jasira here. And Jasira, I just wanted to ask, this is I have to preface it by saying I sit a lot going, um, don't say that. Don't ask that.
Mm,
Uh, you know, um, you know, let me give you a background before I say the thing I'm about to say. And like it's this dance I do. And I was like, that's not authentic. That's not who you are. You're not being true to yourself. If you have a question, Nikki, ask the damn question. You don't have to go down a rabbit hole of who you're not or who you're not being before you even engage in the conversation. And then when you get to the conversation, you're still explaining away how great you are not before you ask the question.
yeah.
And as I'm listening to you speak,
Hmm.
I am reminded to just be me,
Yeah.
and whoever me is in that moment
Hmm.
when she shows up,
Hmm.
she is dynamic, right? I mean, like, that is, my daughter noticed I was doing something last night. Putting, I decided to make my own wall calendar.
Okay.
I'm not going to Staples to buy this calendar to spend this money because Staples
Absolutely.
got the best calendar. No, I've got pens, paper for days, pencils,
Love it.
markers, stickers, all the same ish. I'm going to put in those books. I have it right
Yeah.
here in this apartment. So I
I
said, I'm
love
going to
it.
use my own creativity.
Yeah.
I'm drawing lines on this paper,
Hmm.
and I made mistakes with the
Hmm.
calendar. I messed up
Hmm.
the numbers. And we laughed about it at first, like, oh, mommy, you can't count. Like 28 doesn't come after 21. I said, well, my brain went straight to 28 because I was automatically fast forwarding on how I didn't have enough space on the paper. Like, how bananas was that? But that was like in real time how
Yeah.
we can start to belittle ourselves.
Yes.
And then she heard me say, you're doing a great job. It's like you're drawing these lines, you're counting these numbers, you know how to count by ones. She's like, are you talking to yourself? I said, I sure the hell am. I said, I have to remind myself that even in this seemingly small project,
Yeah.
that I have the propensity to say, you're not good enough to
Mm,
write numbers.
mm,
You're not good enough to draw straight lines with
mhm,
a ruler, by the
mm,
way.
mhm,
And I said, and this is what I do every day to
mhm,
remind myself of the goodness that God has
mhm,
given me that is my life. And
mhm.
she's like, oh, she's looking at me like, you got to do all that to draw a line, the right numbers. I'm like, heck yeah, because if I do it at these little moments, then
Mhm,
when it's a big moment,
mhm.
I'll remember that, Nikki, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great
Right,
job at mothering. You're doing a great
right,
job
right.
at
Yes.
whatever that is. And so I just had to say that because I don't know who else is like that, but I know I am constantly on repeat for how much I am not. dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I am so in overflow. The
Yes.
cup runneth over
Yes.
with abundance. So,
Yes.
yeah, I got another question, but I'm going to send that to you in an email because it might be, off
Okay.
the topic of what we got
Okay.
today. But
Okay.
all of
Okay.
your background leads me to
Okay.
say she may be an answer for something I am seeking. So
Okay.
thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can I give you all an activity, if you will? You didn't ask me, but to give you all an activity. As you
Yes.
as you were talking, Nikki, I was making a few notes here, and I want to say something that you brought out that is important. Presence is king. I want to challenge us to stop looking to do, but just look to be present in the moment. Like right here, right now, no distractions, no multitasking. Be present
Mhm.
right here in the moment because presence is king and presence is the portal for awareness, for insight, for all of the things that we are struggling with to come to the surface. The reason why, Nikki, you
Mhm.
were able to even have that conversation with yourself is because you were present in the moment. That's key. That's first. The second thing
Mhm.
is, I think that we have to continue to dance with our inner child. So I'm going to tell you something that I do.
Mhm.
That I do just did this morning, and I want to invite you all to do it. I printed out an 8 by 10 picture of myself at 5 years old. And
Mhm.
I wrote on the picture, I promise you that we will always dance. Because what happens is, as we become older, we forget that the younger child, the inner child, has to be attended to. Because when she is not, it comes up in various ways. It comes up in latching on and holding on to our children. It comes up in control. It comes up in, when we use our emotional currency as manipulation. It comes up and we don't even intend for that to happen. So we have to be in a perpetual place of doing our parental trauma, inner child work, but also saying, hey, I'm giving us permission. And I promise you, Jesaira, we 5-year-old Jesaira. And right now, we're going to dance. We're never going to get stuck again. We're going to be fluid. We're going to color outside the lines on purpose. We're going to be present. We're going to be free and flowing. Okay. When we do that, that creates space for the dismantling of the conditioning and the cognitive beliefs that Nikki was talking about, that I'm not good enough. Because, see, as a child, you invite curiosity. It's not about perfection. It's about play. It's about exploration. It's about discovery. When we become adults, we forget all about that because it's about getting it done. And that sabotages and hijacks us being present. And then what happens is we bring that over into our relationships with our adult children. And we inadvertently put that
Mhm.
pressure on them and don't mean to.
Mm.
I'll stop
I
there.
love that exercise. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's interesting. Someone shared with me a really beautiful exercise about writing myself a love letter. I,
Yes.
and that was, and I used ChatGPT to do it
Okay.
because I just couldn't figure out how to get started. And it was
Okay.
so beautiful when
Yeah.
there's prompts for other things. So it read, you
Yeah.
know, what I asked for. I love that exercise, just
Yeah.
Sarah. I think that's
That's a good one
phenomenal.
too. Yeah. The letter is good.
Hmm.
That's a great one.
Yeah. I love that. And I love Nikki's share. That was beautiful. Does anybody else have a question or a comment or a thought that you want to bring up? I love progress, not perfection. Yes, love that. Anything on anybody's heart this morning, or a comment or a question, since we have such a beautiful, incredible, wise spirit on this phone today, which is Sarah. If not, I have more questions. I'm happy to ask. I'll keep going. Um, my next question, like you're a therapist, you're a spiritual guide.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen um, where people who have had historically very tough relationships with their
Mm,
children as
mhm,
teenagers, have you
mhm.
seen real examples where they have actually flipped them around and changed those relationships to go from really difficult to really beautiful and strong?
You mean, and
in
some
your
that I worked.
practical examples?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've seen, yes, I've worked with particularly Black women, um, because a lot of in the work that I've done with a lot of Black women,
Hmm.
there's the guilt and the shame that a lot of times we don't name, we don't call,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And so in that space, they're able with me to call out the guilt and the shame, and we're able to then help them to have an honest conversation with their children, a vulnerable
Yes.
conversation, a conversation that requires vulnerability, because a lot of times what children don't see in their adults is vulnerability. And so they don't see their parents as human. They don't see their parents as having emotions. They don't see their parents as having feelings. They see their parents as something, above them versus a person, a person.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking of one client in particular. We kind of walk through the shame and the guilt because her child was born out of due to a rape.
Hmm. Hmm.
So even just the way that her child was conceived,
Mm.
the way that she was wired was to be overprotective.
Yes. Yes.
It was to be overbearing, but it really wasn't
Hmm.
centered in trying to control, it was centered in protection because of what
Yes.
happened to her, she didn't want to happen to her daughter.
Yes. Right.
So part of healing and having that conversation and turning it was first with that woman, healing the shame, the guilt, the embarrassment, and then really giving herself permission to say, hey, I did what I did from the sacrifices that I made. My overbearing disposition was from an honest, sincere place.
Yes.
It wasn't to smother you. And then it
Right.
required her to share with her daughter more
Yes.
what she encountered when she was conceived.
Hmm. And then her daughter heard that, I'm sure, very differently.
Her daughter heard that, heard it differently, connected with the vulnerability,
Yes.
and they were able to begin to move towards something new.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what most of us are doing on this call, working to move to something new. And with boys, I have young men.
Yeah.
My vulnerability was around sharing about the fear I had
Mhm.
for them, still have, because they're Black men in America, and these big, men walking around
Mhm.
sometimes in the middle of the night, coming home from work, taking the metro or what have you. There's
Mhm.
that ongoing undercurrent, which is fear,
Yeah.
wanting them to be safe. But that's true, if it's boys or girls, we want our children to be safe. And
Yeah.
like you said with your friend, with the woman's daughter, not wanting to have that repeated situation happen to her. It comes from a fearful space.
Yeah. And I also think that we have to give ourselves grace and give ourselves the
Hmm.
benefit of the doubt and really move
Yes.
towards self-forgiveness.
Yes.
We're so hard, like Nikki said, we're so hard on ourselves, but a lot of us
We
have
are.
been conditioned, right? And if you grew up in a
Hmm.
home where mom or dad said, no, you will not cry, or you have to do this right. You got to get,
Right.
when that happens, that imprint, that impression
Yes.
causes us to move into this mode of perfectionism,
Hmm.
delusion that everything has to be perfect, everything has to go right.
Yeah.
And when we come into this awakening, we have to be intentional about forgiving ourselves and saying, hey,
That's
I
right.
even, I even forgive my parents. They wanted the best for me, because a lot of that was filtered in as Black women, them wanting you to show up as better than the rest.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Do a little bit more, always have
A
to do
little bit
more,
more.
be
Yeah.
better, all the things we heard.
Yeah.
Growing up, which is in some cases true. That's
A
just
lot
the
of cases
reality.
not.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, I am so grateful for this conversation. I'm seeing someone say presence is king. That's true. And honestly, you were answering a question, and there was a person who's on our call, and we were texting, a person who's here regularly. She shared last week. Out of the 300 calls, she's been here probably 280. And it
Okay.
dawned on me as I saw her pop up this morning, oh, I hadn't sent her something that I said I was going to do. So I did it.
Okay.
And then she sent me a note and said, thank you. And during this call, I responded, you're welcome. But that took away my complete presence just for that, 2 seconds. But it was
Yeah.
a great reminder of, that could have waited. So we're done. So
Yeah.
I could be fully present. And that's true of life. We tend to multitask. I
Yeah.
tend to multitask. I'll speak for myself. I
Yeah. Yeah.
multitask all day long. And to your point, we do the best we can.
Yeah.
And many of us are dealing with our children and now our parent. And so that's a whole new
Yeah.
phenomenon
Yeah.
of caregiving and trying to keep our mask on first. That's really challenging.
Yeah. If I can offer a ritual that you can try, that you all can try to
Yes.
instance, just take 3 to 5 minutes a day. 3 to 5 minutes a day. Find it if it's in your bedroom, bathroom, wherever, to just try to sit and just consciously breathe. And when I say consciously breathe, pay attention to your breath because a lot of times we're talking and not even realizing we're not taking a moment, a beat to breathe. So just take
Hmm.
1, 3 minutes, if you can do five, and just sit and maybe you close your eyes and just connect with your breath and your body, right?
Hmm.
You're giving yourself a moment to practice mindfulness, to practice presence, to
Hmm.
practice being inside of your body. Because remember, once again, your body is telling you what your brain sometimes hasn't figured out quite yet.
That's right.
Into your body. So yeah, the presence. Yeah. So that little
Yes.
exercise, and it makes a world of difference. When you can do that, you can begin to move into meditation. You can move into the more advanced things, but start there. Yeah.
Even a minute. I was thinking, as you said, 3 to 5 minutes. I thought, maybe for me, a 1 minute to start,
Start a
close
minute.
my
Yeah.
eyes, 1 minute
Yeah. Do a
would be
minute.
a huge help.
Do a
And then
minute.
graduate. Yeah.
Yeah, do a minute. I've had clients where we started off in sessions for 30 seconds because some
Yes.
people just that activated. It's difficult to even sit for 30 seconds. It's okay. Start where you are. 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 seconds,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Start where you are. Just try to
And
take
it's,
that.
it's pausing and taking a breath, just
Yeah.
taking a breath. And I think that is critical. So I
Yeah.
love everything you said.
Yeah.
How can people reach you? I know Nikki mentioned she has potentially would like to work with you. Can you share your website? And
Yes.
all?
My website
Hmm.
is theoasissanctuary.net.
Okay.
And to contact me, email is info@theoasissanctuary.com.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in the chat for people that are looking at the chat. You say it again, info at
So at the
the
Oasis Sanctuary,
mhm.
.com. Let me make sure it's .com and not .net.
Okay, wonderful. And the Oasis.
It's .net. I'm sorry. Info at
Okay,
oasissanctuary.net.
correction.
Yeah, .net
Okay,
to correct myself.
no worries. The Oasis Sanctuary dot net. Okay, that is in the chat.
Yep.
And I can't believe how time flies. It is time to wrap already. Do you want
Thank
to
you so
share just a few final words of advice as we get ready to move into these next couple weeks of holiday
much.
time?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So my final words of advice is this: presence is king, to give yourself grace, to move in gratitude and be intentional about peace. Take it
Mm,
one day at a time, one moment at a time.
mm,
Everything is going to be okay. Yeah.
that's perfect. Perfect advice. I love everything you said. You see me smiling. I'm like, that is great. That is great. That is great. That is great. Thank you so much for being here, Jesaira, for coming back and blessing us this morning.
Thank you so much for
Um,
having me.
we're really thrilled that you came. I appreciate you. And Dr. Vicky, our dear friend, will close us out in a prayer this morning.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesaira. The Oasis Sanctuary is such a perfect name for how you show up in the world. Thank you, Kelly, for this powerful conversation and all that you and Dee continue to do and create space here. God, we thank you for this day that you've given to us that we've never seen before. Thank you for the opportunity to be present, to breathe, to pause, to learn, to reflect, to let go, to practice acceptance and the serenity prayer. We thank you for every moment that you've given to us to grow. Thank you for our children and our parents. Thank you for every household that is represented on this call, not just today, but in times past and those that will come in the future. We thank you for every guest. Thank you for Jesaira and the well of wisdom that she is, the multiplicity of gifts that she has, and for her so freely sharing. Continue to bless her with grace on her journey to finishing her PhD. Bless her practice. Bless who she is in the world. Thank you for gracing us with her and allowing her to pour wisdom into us so that we can grow up and be better people, better parents. We thank you for another opportunity. Thank you for the SonRise Project. And we give you glory. Keep us safe today. Allow us to be present with ourselves and with our loved ones. And we thank you in advance for new ways of being with our children. And we honor you and we praise you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Vicky, and thank you to Sarah, and everybody have a beautiful day.
You all have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye.